Hi everyone, Kim here with a new process video for Bella Boulevard. Today I'm going to be focusing on their felt pennant shapes. The page that I'm going to create today is birthday themed, which is perfect in terms of those little felt pennants, of which here are a selection for you to have a look at. The starting point for this page was to cut some paper strips. That one is 11 inches by 2 and a bit. That is 8¼ inches by 2 and a bit. That is 7½ inches by 2½ inches. And that is 6 inches by 1½ inches. So the thought was to use an image of Max, but I wanted to keep the size very similar to the Instax size, just to keep the whole vibe of the page quite modern, seeing as it is a teen boy page going into a teen boy album. The first step is to create some colored splatter using inks on a white background. I used a combination of steel grey and blue, which you will notice later on really helps to tie all the elements in together. Now for these strips, what I wanted to do was keep them loose. In terms of the fold is going to remain sort of upright, if you know what I mean. It isn't going to be completely flattened. So the trick is to just adhere the top section together, leaving the rest open. I was having a problem with that adhesive nozzle. It was blocked and the adhesive wasn't coming out anyhow. To cut a long story short, there we have my paper pieces ready to arrange on my background page. I started with the longest one and then layered the others in a progression across the page. That piece that I'm popping onto the page there is a tag shape cut out of one of the amazing Bella Boulevard acetate sheets called Clear Cuts. That one is called Orange Confetti, and I like the fact that it just adds a little bit of understated texture, and yeah, it's perfect in terms of getting a really nice layered vibe going on. Also, I wanted to balance out the orange color which was coming through, or starting to come through in the page, and that was a perfect way to do it. I'm just trimming my photo here. What I've done is I've used 4 by 6 inch photo pieces, like photo paper, and then I set them up in Photoshop and print them on my home printer to make sure that the size is perfect. Okay, now what I've done here is used multiple rows of machine stitching to adhere those paper pieces to the background. You'll see it adds lovely texture and obviously attaches those pieces of paper without making them lie completely flat on the paper. Next is a word, one of the Bella Boulevard's acrylic words. This one says birthday, which is obviously completely apt for what my page theme is all about. And of course I'm loving that turquoise shade. Now to add the felt pennants, you'll notice what I'm doing is leaving them on their acetate backing. These pennants come completely covered in adhesive. Now, because of the three-dimensional nature of this page, I didn't want them to be completely flattened and stuck to the page. So all I did was loosened a little strip at the top of the pennant so that I could then attach it to the page, leaving the bottom part free. This helps to keep the elements nice and dimensional. Now what I'm doing is flipping through a few of those really great ephemera pieces which came in the Wish Big ephemera pack, making sure that not only do the sentiments support the story but also balance the colors. That little sticker sentiment comes off the fundamental sheet from the collection called Oh My Stars. There's some really nice pieces there. The colors are perfect. They work with with everything else that's going on the page. The nice thing about the Bella Boulevard collections is that there is a standard color palette that runs through all of the collections, which then obviously makes mixing and matching papers, embellishments, stickers, etc. really simple from collection to collection. So this page is obviously a perfect example of that. Using a few of the fabulous puffy stars, which come in multiple sheets. I'm using both green and orange here, again, to help with color balance. And then I'm balancing the puffy sticker stars out with chipboard stickers, which came on the Wish Big chipboard sheet. To add a little bling, understated boy bling, I grabbed some of the leftover enamel dots, which came on those heart hugs, on the heart hugs I used last week. And you will see they just add a little bit of twinkle and again color balance and contrast to the page. For my title, I decided on a conversational title using a combination of not only ephemeral sentiments but also puffy stickers. That adorable puffy sticker alphabet that I'm using there is called Wonky Alpha, and I had it in pickle juice, which is the green, and of course again it matches the rest of the embellishments and fits perfectly. Now what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing a couple, trying them out to see if they fit. That word hooray sits and fits perfectly into the little space from the top of the Y to the beginning of the yellow sentiment, creating a little title cluster. There's something pleasing about the symmetry of that title, not only in terms of design but also color balance and fonts. What I'm doing is just working on the layers, adding understated bits to really make the page feel three-dimensional. Those chipboard stars, even though they are obviously quite dimensional in terms of the fact that they're chipboard, I then added further dimension with a foam adhesive squares. You will notice that I never adhere any part of the page down completely flat onto the background. I always add a little bit of adhesive to the center of the item so that the edges can curl up, again making sure that everything is nice and dimensional. Now it's time for the journaling. I really had quite a lot to say on this page in terms of the fact that it was Max's 13th birthday, and when you're 13 it's a big deal. I mean, he's a teen. He was then allowed certain privileges which he wasn't allowed at 12. He got his first mobile phone with a SIM card, etc., etc. And I really wanted to make sure that I documented those milestones on the page. Now, I really wanted to keep a lot of white space left on this page, so I needed to be quite clever in terms of how I added the journaling, as not to take away that really nice white space which I had managed to achieve, even though the page is quite full and busy. So you will notice in a moment that I add some more clusters of journaling, and doing just that, I clustered the journaling, and by positioning them at 3 strategic points around the page, not only do I add a visual triangle which helps just perfect the design, but also it draws one's eye around the page. I call it sort of directionality, where your eye starts at one point in the page and then travels all the way around as you absorb all the different elements. Here what I was doing is trying some journaling as part of the pennant strip, and had second thoughts about that. I thought it didn't work so well, so grabbed my trusty library date stamp which incidentally is on its last year. I've discovered all my date stamps are now outdated. I'm going to have to buy new ones. What I did is I did a little sample stamp, and now I'm moving it around the page on a little separate strip of paper to make 100% sure that I've got the positioning right, because I don't know if you're like me, I'm so stamping challenged. I never know where to put the stamps, and when I do, I instantly regret it. So this way, at least, I can make 100% sure that I'm happy with where it ends up being placed. Underlining the journaling just again gives a little bit more contrast and gives it, I don't know, there's something so nice about being able to help the journaling really stand out. And that is where the video ends, I'm afraid. Here are some close-ups so that you can get in on the action. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that the actual design process has been helpful. Remember to stop by the Bella Boulevard blog for my full write-up and for the link to the products. And thank you again for joining me. This has been great, and I look forward to sharing my next process video with you next week. Thanks. Bye bye.